which is why people are starting to feel the pinch. Because their rates are so low, they're going to do everything in their power to make sure they don't lose their home. And they'll start to become delinquent on things like their credit cards first.
Mm-hmm. So, to Saeed's point, this from Chart of the Day, CNBC Chart of the Day. Consumers are taking on more debt and facing bigger risks from carrying the balance. Keep in mind, the credit card rates are pretty high, close to their highest they've been in the highest they've been in the last several decades, but not their highest ever. But credit card balances are, in fact, at their aggregate highest number ever.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, it's a full swing up. We'll get to the charts in a second, though. This holiday season, shoppers who ring up purchases on credit cards will pay more interest if they carry balances from month to month after the Federal Reserve's string of rate hikes. That's right. They impact you, too. The cost of borrowing has climbed as credit card delinquencies. The number of people making payments toward their balance have ticked up through the metric that remains below the highs of the Great Recession. So, though the metric remains below the number.
I think I cited on the last show, 7% of people that carry balances on their credit cards are actually experiencing 30-day delinquencies.
So, there are several charts here. Chart number 1, credit card balances in the U.S. have crested at $1 trillion. Okay, $1 trillion is the highest carrying balance of credit cards in aggregate the United States has ever had. It has gone straight up since 2021. We are well north of double what we were in, call it, 2010. And this number is at its highest of all time, which is a big part of the highest non-household debt we've ever seen, because this combined with auto debt just puts you way, way out in the ballpark. And just for a refresher, it is now the most expensive it's ever been to buy a new car.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just real. Chart number 2, average interest rate on U.S. credit cards from commercial banks is north of 21%. That has gone almost vertically straight up since about 2022, which coincides with the Fed interest rate increases.
Exactly.
This is a large part of the reason why the pain for the consumers in holding the rates, because banks can adjust to this quick pivot up and start making loans to start recouping profit. But you, the consumer, you're not going to get wages that come in super high.
Yeah, at least fast enough to keep up with this.
You'll be lucky to get a wage increase which coincides or equals to inflation. Right. And your real inflation versus the bullshit you're seeing from CPI numbers depends on what you spend money on. And I guarantee you, if you've taken a trip, you've traveled, you bought food at the grocery store, your real inflation is probably a lot higher than the aggregate number, which includes foods and services you probably don't use.
Right.
So I think that people aren't understanding the long-term impacts of this, because the companies will find a way to manifest and figure this out. But if you're a W-2 wage earner or you're a business earner and you have consumers that have to buy your product, what are you going to do when your revenue goes down, when your wages go down, and your payments are now considerably higher, over 21%? You're carrying more credit card balance than you ever had before. And then you go to the third chart. Delinquency rates on credit card loans in the U.S. already starting to go up, and you're starting to see its peak. And to the article's point, it's not at its height like you saw after 2008, but it's certainly on the same trajectory and probably in an more aggressive path than it had been leading up to 2008.
Right, and that's just of Q2 2023. So I definitely know it's higher than that right now. What also came out was auto loan delinquencies for subprime borrowers, right? Subprime borrowers are those people with low credit scores, limited credit history, and they have, some past financial challenges, right? They've reached 6.1%, the highest since 1994. Fun fact, 1994 is when they started tracking figures, so the highest ever since they started tracking.